Alright, welcome back everyone. In this video, we're going to be talking about the theories of dreaming. In psychology, there are two standard theories for dreaming. The first one is called the activation synthesis hypothesis, and this was developed by two researchers, Macaulay and Hobson. Now, this is one of the theories that many psychologists like because there actually is some evidence to support this theory. Because one of the problems that we have when we want to do research on dreaming is that, first of all, like many of you, you may not be able to remember your dreams to begin with. And while a person is in a dream state, it's very difficult to actually talk to them and see what actually is going on psychologically with them. So there is some evidence for this theory, which is, like I said, why some people tend to believe in this theory a little bit more than the second one we're going to talk about. But let me explain to this one first, and then we'll move on to the next one. So in this theory, what's going to happen is that when a person enters into a dream state, the pons, which is along the brainstem in the back of the brain that we talked about in chapter number 2, is going to send chemical messages up to the cerebral cortex. Now, in our cerebral cortex, this is where all of our memories are going to be stored. And so what's going to happen then is the activation part of the theory is all these random memories becoming activated at once. And this is going to provide all that neural activity, which is why even though we're in a very deep state of sleep, it's very difficult to wake a person up when they're in a dream state. Their brain is as active as it is during the waking state because of all the activation that's going on because of these memories that are activated during the dream state. Now, once all these memories become activated, what's going to happen then is that the brain is going to try to interpret or make sense out of these dreams. Out of these random memories. This is called the synthesis part of the hypothesis. So, for example, I might be having a dream about getting married. And so that's a basic part of the dream, but also other things can be part of the dream itself. For example, I may have seen a movie the other day about the beach, and so instead of getting married in a church, I'm getting married on the beach. People in my recent memory would be in the dream. Also, people from my past, such as my childhood, could also be part of the dream. So what's going to happen then is that random memories, some recent, some from the distant past, they can all be incorporated in the same dream itself. And also keep in mind is that when we enter a dream state at night, we don't have just one dream that lasts the whole entire REM state, but it's several dreams. And that's why many people report having these really weird dreams where it seems like it's a really bad edited movie where it jumps from one scene to the next scene to the next scene and none of it really makes any sense. It's just because all these random memories are being activated. The brain is trying to organize and synthesize them into some kind of coherent, meaningful way, but sometimes it can't do a good job with it. And so that's why we sometimes just have those really bizarre memories of our dreams that don't make any sense. But anyways, what is going to happen though is this. The types of memories that will become more easily activated are those that are from recent memory. Maybe things that happened the previous day. Maybe things that are going on in our life at that moment. Or it could also be things that have deep meaning to us from our distant past. So any of those things that are kind of on our mind on a daily basis will become more easily activated when you fall asleep. And this is one of the reasons why if you have children at home, you don't want them to watch scary movies before they go to bed at night. Because what's going to happen is that when they enter a dream state, the recent memories they have are going to be from the scary movie they watched before they went to bed. And that's why a lot of kids have really bad dreams after watching bad movies. So it does actually kind of make some sense when you think about it. But here's an example. Suppose we have a person who's going to be getting married soon. And what's going to happen is that they're thinking about the wedding plans, they're thinking about the wedding coming up, and so on and so forth. And so while they're planning the wedding, or maybe they're expecting a child soon, and they're making preparations for the baby coming, so they're getting the baby room all ready to go. They're thinking about what's going to happen during the labor and delivery and all that. That's why in those cases, we tend to have those types of dreams more frequently, because those types of memories are highly activated in our mind. And then what's going to happen is that after we have the wedding or after we have the baby, those types of dreams are going to be less common. Now, what could happen though is suppose I'm watching a movie on TV and there's a scene where a couple gets married or maybe a woman has a baby Then, because that activates a memory from my past, I might have that type of memory that night when I fall asleep. So any type of memories that tend to have any kind of importance to you, things that are on your mind recently, things that are kind of weighing on you, will be part of the dreams that you will typically tend to have. Now, also what can happen is sometimes people report bizarre things such as the repeating dream. So what can happen in a repeating dream is that sometimes we have a dream that for whatever reason seems to have a really important part in our lives. We're not exactly sure what it could be, but for us it's kind of meaningful. And maybe it provides a really strong emotional component to it. And that's one of the reasons why, in fact, a lot of people have dreams about falling or being chased is because those type of dreams have a very strong emotional component to them. And we tend to wake up from those type of dreams more easily than other types of dreams. And so that's why those are usually more commonly remembered. And also we talked about how you have the muscle paralysis when you're in a dream state. And so when you're having those types of dreams, you're trying to run away or trying to grab something as you're falling down. And then because you can't move your muscles, that provides another emotional reaction, which usually causes you to wake up. But anyways, suppose we have this dream. And for whatever reason, it's important to us psychologically. What can happen is that we can form a memory of that dream, and that memory gets stored somewhere up in our cerebral cortex. Then a few nights later, maybe a week later, maybe a month later, who knows, we activate that same dream of that memory once again. So we have the same dream a second time. And once again, it's going to be stored as a memory. And each time that we activate this memory of the dream and we dream it again, it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. And that's how we can have a very strong repeating dream just because we activate it over and over and over again. What's kind of even more bizarre, though, is that when we have the repeating dream, we dream it and then we add on to the dream. And then we form a memory of that new dream. So the next time we have the same dream, we have it all the way up to the last point of the dream, we add on to it again, and it just continues just like a movie. So that doesn't happen that frequently, but when it does, it just seems kind of weird because, oh gosh, why do you keep having this dream and why does it keep going on? It never seems to end. So some of the stuff is kind of interesting when you start to think about it. So if you guys have other questions about how this theory can explain some of the dreams that you're having, go ahead and post them on the discussion board and I'll answer those questions for you. Or when we have a Zoom meeting, we could also go over all this information in a Zoom meeting. Now, there is one limitation to this dream. And so what can happen is this. Suppose I'm having a dream about my marriage. And I'm at my wedding. My wife is walking down the aisle. She gets to the altar. I turn to her, lift up her veil, and guess what? It's not my wife, but it's my ex-girlfriend. Okay, so what's going on here? Why would I have that type of dream? Now, the activation synthesis hypothesis would say, well, it just so happens that it's a strange coincidence that your ex and your current fiance are in the same dream together. I mean, that could be the case, but could there be another explanation? And this is where we have the theory of Sigmund Freud come into play. Because Sigmund Freud believed that dreams were the royal road to the unconsciousness. What this means is that Freud believed that in your unconscious mind, you have deep, dark secrets, maybe fantasies, impulses, wishes, and so on, forbidden to the conscious mind that reside there. And it could be possible that, there's something going on unconsciously with me that's leading to have this type of dream. And so what Freud is going to say is that dreams are a reflection of wish fulfillment, which is the need to fulfill ungratified sexual and aggressive impulses. So I'll explain to you what this means in the next slide when we talk about this dream that I may have just had. Okay? But anyways, the reason why this is important, just as a side note, is that when Freud was doing therapy with his patients, just as it is today, many people would come into therapy, they're sad, they're depressed, whatever, and the therapist, or in this case, Freud would say, well, what's going on? Why are you so sad? Why are you so depressed? And the person's going to say, well, I don't know. I just been sad for a long time. I don't know why. Well, there always has to be a reason why. You may not be able to consciously recognize it because it's too painful to think about or it's too traumatic to think about, but it's there somewhere hidden in the unconscious mind. So Freud would actually use this dream interpretation as a part of his psychotherapy. And we'll talk more about this when we get to the chapter on therapy towards the end of the semester. But anyways, to explain this, there are two parts of the theory according to Freud. The first part is called the manifest content. This is the actual reported dream sequence. This is the dream of my fiance walking down the aisle, coming up to the altar, me lifting up the veil, and poof, there becomes, I see the X instead of my current girlfriend, or current fiance, I should say. And then we have the latent content, which is the symbolic meaning of the dream. This is the underlying meaning of the dream. This is what the dream actually represents. So what Freud would say is that the latent content is maybe my unconscious wish that instead of marrying my fiance, I was actually marrying my ex. Maybe I have not been able to get over my feelings for my ex. Maybe I secretly wish I was marrying her instead of my fiance. So for some reason, there's this unconscious conflict, something going on inside my psyche that's leading to this conflict between who am I marrying versus who do I want to marry, and so on. Now, once again, this may not be the actual reason for the dream. And in fact, if you go, say, to Barnes & Noble, you go to the psychology section, look up books about dream analysis, you're going to find a ton of them. There's all different types of interpretations. And one of the reasons why dream interpretation is not commonly used today in therapy is because of the fact that how do you know which theory is correct? But from Freud's perspective, at least it's a way to get the client to start talking. They're going to start talking about something in therapy instead of saying, I don't know why I'm so sad. I don't know why I'm so depressed. Well, maybe it's related to your ex. Maybe you still have some unresolved, unconscious feelings towards that person that you haven't resolved yet. And maybe we need to figure that out before we move on. And so, anyways, I'm sure some of you guys can relate to that, I'm sure. But that's just kind of where this is coming from. And so this is kind of an interesting idea that's out there in psychology. And once again, we'll talk more about this later on. We start talking about psychological disorders and psychotherapy and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, so we have an assignment where you're going to talk about your dreams. And I think that's going to be really interesting. So I hope you guys have fun with that. But once again, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and post them on the discussion board, and I'll answer those as soon as I get to them. So until next time, we'll see you guys. Ciao.